The runway stretched before her like a black ribbon through the desert night. Major Elaine Kit tightened her gloves, her gaze fixed on the faint shimmer of heat rising from the tarmac. Wind gusted across the base, scattering dust that caught the floodlights in golden swirls. For a moment, she stood completely still, letting the sound of the engines, the distant clatter of tools, and the soft murmur of the night wrap around her like an old uniform. Every pilot knew that moment before takeoff, the calm before chaos. But to her, it felt sacred. Her A-10C Warthog, Ripjaw, sat waiting, its frame humming faintly from the running auxiliary power unit. Its twin engines glowed a dull orange, like coals waiting to ignite. Ayla touched the cool metal one last time. "You ready, girl?" she murmured. The plane didn't answer, but the soft creak of cooling metal felt like a nod. The crew chief gave a thumbs up. Hydraulic lines disengaged, fuel seals locked, and clearance lights blinked green across the fuselage. Ella climbed the ladder and settled into the cockpit. The familiar scent of oil and ozone hit her instantly, the smell of home. She lowered the canopy, sealing herself into a world of dials and silence. Her heart slowed. Every pilot had their ritual. Hers was listening. She turned off her headset for a few seconds and simply listened to the cockpit. The faint hum of electronics, the whir of fans, the heartbeat of Ripjaw waking up. Then she whispered the words she'd whispered before every mission. "We fly for those who can't." The engines roared. The vibration ran through her seat and spine. The runway lights blurred as she pushed the throttle forward. The A-10 rolled faster, faster still, her stomach pressing against the seatback as gravity shifted. When the wheels finally lifted, the world fell away beneath her, the desert shrinking to rippling darkness. From the control tower, Harrow watched, hands clasped behind his back. The radar blip marked 8111 flickered once, twice, then disappeared. "She's gone dark," an operator said quietly. Harrow's voice came steady. "She's gone in." Above. The Corangle Mountains, the sky was a bruise of clouds and lightning. The moonlight fractured against the jagged peaks, throwing shifting shadows into the valleys below. Ella dropped altitude, her HUD flashing warnings in red. Terrain proximity, missile lock zone, stall risk. She ignored them all. She flew by feel now, the way her father taught her. Every vibration in the stick told her what the air was doing. Every tremor through the frame told her where the wind was hiding. She banked left, skimming barely 60 feet above the canyon rim. Beneath her, the world turned black, then red, then black again, as lightning crawled across the horizon. "Easy, girl," she whispered. "Just the rhythm." Her comms crackled. It was Harrow, voice tight through static. "Stormcaller, you're entering the Devil's Mouth. You have no visual support. Do not descend below radar minimum." Ela smiled faintly. "Copy that command," she said, though she was already 500 feet below minimum. Inside the canyon, the wind screamed between the rock walls, funneled into a deadly roar. The A-10's sensors flickered, briefly losing calibration. Her HUD glitched, the terrain map dissolving into static, but she kept flying, using only her instincts and the topographic memory she'd burned into her mind years ago. She rolled left to avoid a narrow ridge, her wingtip barely scraping past a rock face. Sparks flared in the night. The aircraft shuddered but held steady. "Not today," she muttered. Down below, hidden between ridges, 12 Navy SEALs crouched in a ravine, barely wide enough to move. Their gear was scorched, ammunition running low. Flashes of enemy gunfire lit the rock around them like fireflies. Lieutenant Dorsey, the team lead, shouted over the noise, "We're dry on comms! No birds coming! We hold here!" Another explosion rocked the canyon wall, showering them with dust. One of the younger SEALs looked up at the black sky. "Sir, I swear I just heard a jet." Dorsey laughed bitterly. That's your imagination, kid. No pilot's insane enough to come down here. Then the sound hit. Low, deep, rolling like thunder trapped between stone. The ground trembled. Every man froze, eyes wide. Out of the blackness, two beams of cannon fire streaked down from the sky, bright orange, precise, devastating. The ridge above them erupted in flame. Enemy mortars went silent in seconds. Ella's voice crackled faintly through their damaged radio net, distorted but unmistakably calm. Bravo 6, this is Ripjaw. You called for angels? Dorsey blinked in disbelief. You've got to be kidding me. Get your men ready, Ella continued. I'm clearing your north exit. You've got 2 minutes to move. Her altitude alarm screamed as she dove again. She lined up the GAU-8 cannon and squeezed the trigger. The warthog snarled. A wall of depleted uranium rounds tore through the canyon floor, shredding enemy armor like paper. Dust and fire exploded outward. Her teeth rattled, but her aim didn't waver. One missile streaked toward her from the ridge, a heat seeker. She pulled hard right, flares erupting behind her like comets. The missile followed for a heartbeat, then veered off and detonated harmlessly against the rock. Ripjaw, this is Bravo 6, Dorsey's voice burst through, clearer now. We've got wounded, but we're moving. Holy hell, ma'am, you're a sight for sore eyes. Keep moving east, she replied. There's a dry riverbed that'll mask your heat signature. I'll cover your tail. She banked again, dropping so low the warthog's belly nearly scraped the canyon floor. Dust plumed behind her like smoke from a dragon's wings. She squeezed another burst from the cannon, silencing a bunker on the far side. Her radar pinged. 2 more launches. Surface-to-air missiles from the southern ridge. Come on, she hissed, slamming the throttle. The A-10 surged forward, but one missile closed fast. She flipped the aircraft inverted, diving toward the canyon floor, 200 feet, 150, 100, the rock rushing up to meet her. Then she rolled out of the dive at the last possible second. The missile smashed into the canyon wall behind her, detonating in a bloom of orange. The shockwave punched the aircraft sideways. Warning lights blazed across the console. Hydraulic pressure dropping, the onboard system blared. Ella gritted her teeth, forcing the stick back to level. We're fine, Ripjaw. Just a scratch. Up ahead, the canyon narrowed into a twisted tunnel of rock. The seals were moving below, tiny dots on her infrared feed. She flew parallel to them, shielding their route with suppressive fire. Her ammo counter ticked down, 500 rounds, 300, 150. She switched to rockets, launching 2 salvos into enemy positions closing in from the west. The explosions painted the canyon red. But the third missile wasn't fired by the enemy. It was hers, jammed in the tube. A mechanical glitch. Her HUD screamed malfunction. She slammed the switch off, but too late. The left wing shuddered violently. Smoke burst from the pylon. Control, this is Ripjaw, she called, voice straining. Left wing hit, losing lift. No response. The radio was gone. She bit her lip, blood filling her mouth. Her fingers danced across the console, rerouting fuel lines, balancing the thrust manually. The aircraft wobbled, then steadied. She exhaled through clenched teeth. We're not done yet. Below, the SEALs reached the canyon exit. The evac beacon flashed weakly in her HUD. She circled once, low and wide, scanning for pursuit. The enemy was retreating, what was left of them anyway. For a moment, everything went still. The radio static softened. The only sound was the fading echo of her engines bouncing off the cliffs. Then Harrow's voice broke through, barely audible through the interference. Stormcaller, report, do you copy? Ella smiled faintly, her voice almost a whisper. Mission complete, Colonel. Bravo 6 is alive. Status? Minor damage, she said. Nothing Ripjaw can't handle. There was a long pause then. Damn good work, Major. Bring her home. The words "bring her home" echoed in her ears. For a heartbeat, her chest tightened, not from fear, but from memory. Her father's voice, years ago. Always know where home is. She banked toward the open desert, the canyon widening behind her. The sky had cleared, the storm broken, stars visible again through the thinning clouds. But the A-10 systems weren't done fighting. Warning lights flashed again, engine 2 overheating, fuel leak detected. She frowned. The left turbine was spitting smoke. Her instruments dimmed. Come on, old girl, just a little farther. The base was 70 miles away. She could make it. Maybe. Halfway across the desert, the second engine coughed once, then again. Flames licked from the intake. She cut the throttle, shutting it down to save what fuel remained. The aircraft began to lose altitude, slowly but steadily. "Ripjaw to control," she said softly. "Going manual glide. Prep emergency strip." Silence again. Static hissed in her ears. Then, faintly, Riley's voice broke through. "Major, you copy? We're ready. Runway lights green. Bring her home, ma'am." Ella grinned. "That's an order I like hearing." She adjusted her descent, angling toward the faint glow of the base lights. The wind whistled through a crack in the canopy, and the smell of burning oil filled the cockpit. Her hands ached from the strain on the controls. At 2,000 feet, the last engine coughed once more and died. The Warthog glided in silence, a steel bird with clipped wings. She guided it like a falling leaf, every move measured, deliberate. Below, floodlights swept across the runway. Emergency vehicles lined the strip. Riley stood at the edge, eyes searching the night sky. Then, a shadow appeared against the stars. Slow, steady, graceful. Ripjaw touched down hard, sparks flaring from the landing gear. The tires screamed against the concrete, smoke pouring from the wings. She fought the stick, keeping it straight until the plane rolled to a halt halfway down the runway. The silence afterward was deafening. Then came the cheers. Mechanics, officers, even Harrow himself running toward the smoking jet. Ella lifted her canopy. The cool night air rushed in, carrying the smell of dust and fuel. She unstrapped herself, climbed down slowly. Her knees nearly buckled when her boots hit the ground. Riley was there first, eyes wide. "You did it," he breathed. Ella smiled tiredly. "Told you I'd bring her back." Behind her, Ripjaw hissed softly as systems cooled. The nose of the jet was blackened, wings scorched, but she was whole. Colonel Harrow approached, face shadowed but eyes bright. "Major Kit," he said quietly, "you just rewrote the rule book." She met his gaze, exhaustion etched into every line of her face. "No, sir," she said. "Just erased a mistake." He nodded once, slowly. "You realize what you did was unauthorized. Reckless and completely off protocol." "Yes, sir." "And," he added, voice softening, "you saved 12 men doing it." Ela's shoulders eased. "Then I'd say we're even." The colonel almost smiled. "Get some rest, Stormcaller." As he walked away, she turned back toward the A-10. The night wind whispered across the tarmac. Stars reflected faintly in the canopy glass. She reached out, laid a hand on the metal. "Good work, Ripjaw," she said softly. "You always did like to dance with devils." Riley stood beside her, silent for a while. Then he said quietly, "They'll talk about this one for years." Ella shook her head. "Let them talk. I'll be flying." She walked toward the hangar lights, the roar of distant engines echoing across the base. Behind her, the Warthog gleamed beneath the stars, a battered angel that had flown through hell and brought her home.